Come get on the train.
Wait a minute.
Hit it.
Welcome into the Sports Buffoons podcast. Yo, let's get it going out there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the world. Welcome on in back again, once again, to the Sports Buffoon studio here at Lenexa, Kansas. That's right, we are back as a trio once more. JG to my left, Tanner Dawson to my right. What's going on, fellas?
What's up,
What
yo?
up? What up?
Here to hang out once again, talk a little sports ball with you guys. We had a little week off last week, of course. You know, let some things pile up. It is the NFL offseason after all. And also, thank goodness, the stupid NBA season's finally winding down to where it matters.
We only got 3 months left.
Yeah, exactly. Well, playoffs are here. 3 months left. Woo! You know, I mean, Jesus Christ. But I'm glad that the play-ins have began. And somehow my shitty Phoenix Suns have made the playoffs, and they're playing on Saturday. And I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I mean, I can't believe they even made it. I'm pretty stoked about that, just to watch them probably lose in round one. But how do you guys feel about the previous 2 weeks that we've left off with?
I mean, like you said, NBA playoffs has happened. I'm surprised the NBA did not rig it yesterday to have a Warriors LeBron James in-season tournament final of who goes to the playoff, actual playoffs. So, Lakers ended up winning yesterday, so I was kind of shocked on that. But not only that, but the Stanley Cup playoffs also began as well. So season is in, so that started too.
There we go.
So that's on for another 3 months as well.
Yeah, what's up with all these sports and their long playoffs? You know, the NFL, you know, they're kind of turning that way too. I mean, they're extending the playoffs now from January to now mid-February at this point. So that's 1.5 months. All these other sports are 3 months long. So pretty wild stuff, man.
Biggest thing that sucked for me over the past couple of weeks was the Giannis injury and the fact that basically, for the most part, just takes the Bucks out of the conversation in terms of having a chance to win the Eastern Conference. And you're kind of going back when you look at the Celtics this year. They were 14 games ahead of the second-place team, and now you don't have Giannis, or Giannis is not going to be 100%. So I don't think anyone dreams now that they're a serious contender in the East. And so it reminds me of the good old days with LeBron James, where he didn't have any real competition when he was in the Eastern Conference. That's why he went to the finals almost every year, and that's kind of how the Celtics are looking this year.
You believe the Celtics?
There's no.
I don't believe in the Celtics.
There's no to win the East. There's no real competition over there.
If they got to play the Heat, they're screwed.
No, are you kidding?
Playoff Jimmy. Hey,
Oh,
we
no.
say
Tanner
it
doing the playoff
every
Jimmy.
year. Every year.
Oh, Jesus.
The
Every
Heat.
time.
The Heat should be banned, and then look what happens. They get to the
Tanner,
freaking finals.
You do this playoff Jimmy every year since we've been doing the show.
And guess what?
It's the same result every time.
They go to the conference finals.
It's the same result every time.
I should mention the Sixers.
Or the finals.
I do give the Sixers a legitimate shot. I mean, I think it would be an interesting series, but I think the fact that you took Giannis out of the picture just makes the Eastern Conference kind of boring right now. So that was kind of a downer for me.
What are you talking about? You got teams in there that haven't been in there at all.
You have teams
it's
in
Orlando
there.
Magic.
You have
Orlando
teams in
Magic,
there.
the young guys.
They have a 0% chance of making it to the finals or winning a championship.
I
Yes.
think Orlando's gonna be fun to have there with the Cleveland matchup.
Not very exciting,
Dude,
Tanner.
There is some exciting matchups.
I agree with that with what you're saying, just because I think the East is so top heavy with the main team, and then the West I feel like has a bit of a
I don't know how you guys are
dogfight.
picking the Celtics. I don't get this.
You don't get why the Celtics would be the favorite.
Yeah,
You're either picking them or the Sixers.
they're gonna choke just like they always do.
Don't
to the
try to tell me.
Sixers?
Not to the Sixers.
Yeah, those are the only
To
two.
the playoff Jimmy,
Oh,
apparently.
the Sixers came back. By the way, it's Heat are only up by 1 with 4 minutes
at
left.
this point, playoff Jimmy should have never left the Sixers, because if he was still there, then they might have a chance to go all the way. But
Yeah.
playoff Jimmy got tired of their bullshit back in the day.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I got tired of some bullshit with a certain company I was at, so I started my new path recently, so I'm happy with that. I'm staying with this podcast. Don't worry, I didn't get traded from here, so unfortunately I'm
Not
stuck
yet.
in Tanner's mom's basement.
We tried to
But-
trade him, but we couldn't get the value was just not what we wanted to get out of
Yeah.
him. So
No, I'm stuck here.
And we're not do-gooders because we're not gonna just give them away for a piece of toilet paper used. So like
Hey.
you know,
Some
somebody was
some places are probably fine with that.
like
but,
Sneed, you know.
I'm golden toilet paper these days, so I'm actually, worth something because obviously the value in gold and all that is right now at its all-time high.
Gold
So
toilet paper.
golden.
toilet
Don't forget
paper,
about.
which means it's almost like you're worth a shit, but you're not quite worth a shit. You know what I'm
Don't
saying?
forget about Bitcoin too. Bitcoin
the
is going to
Bitcoin.
go back to its all-time high pretty soon.
Well, it's already close enough. I mean, it's not that far from its all-time high anyway. So
Tanner, do you own any Bitcoin yet, or
I
did
don't own
you
Bitcoin.
still holding out?
Did you guys remember this a couple years ago when we were at Mike's place, and he was our dad at the time,
oh, jeez.
And we did like a good month or 2 months worth where we had Doge. We talked about Doge the entire
we
some
did.
point in the show. It was on our thumbnails as well.
Yeah,
well, Doge was the hot topic, Tanner. If you
It
went
was.
to Google searches, Google ads to
Yeah.
find the most searched crypto at the time, it was Doge over Bitcoin even.
But it didn't blow up till like a year later, and then
Sure.
So we
now-
didn't
yeah.
help it much.
but that was fine back then. Now nobody gives a shit about Doge. They
No,
only
nobody
care
cares.
about the AI tokens. Those are the next big thing.
Yeah, that is true. No one cares about Doge anymore. They're all over it. So everyone has Doge out there. Just wait for it to go up a little bit and get your money out and move on. So that's the plan, I think. Even Elon Musk is over. Even Elon Musk is like, he's bored. He's tired of the Dogecoin shit.
Yeah, he's tired of it.
All right, guys. Well, we are here to talk a little bit of draft with you guys, of course. This is going to be the draft coming up here in a little over a week, of course. So that means the show, by the way, coming up after this show will be after the draft, as a matter of fact. So we will give a really good recap for you guys about our thoughts on the Chiefs draft, as well as who had the best draft overall and got the best prospects, and just our input on that. So far, the lead up to the draft, to me, has been very boring. I'm not going to lie. There's not a lot of action. I mean, we had our combine and our pro days and the visits and all those kinds of things. But when you're picking 32 overall, man, it's hard to get super pumped about the draft every year.
There's
because
just so many different
it's
selections
random.
that may or may not be there.
Yeah. You can't predict who's going to be there. You can predict who you want to be there, but it's not a situation where, if you're a Bears fan, you're probably pretty hyped about this draft coming up.
You got 2 picks in the top 10.
You got great options. I mean, you're probably stoked for this thing, but not to say we're not excited because, we were literally at the draft 1 year ago at this time, and, that was a really fun time. We got to at least experience it, and we got to experience it, which was nice. But, man, I'm not going to lie. It has been difficult for me in a lot of ways this year to get into the draft, knowing you win the Super Bowl all the goddamn time, you're picking 32 overall again. And it's like, man, what do I have to look forward to?
Does the ongoing developing situation of Rashee Rice not entertain you in some kind of way?
Well, it entertained me not in a good way. I mean, it entertains me
not
in
in a good way, yes.
In fact, I've paid attention,
but now you're sitting here like, all right, so now what do we really do, right?
Well, here's the thing. I have a theory on this because the Chiefs in the past had shown a tendency whenever Tyreek Hill was going through some off-the-field issues to draft what they considered to be his replacement at the time, which was Mecole Hardman, with the idea that Tyreek Hill might have to be off the team that exact season. Turns out everything was going on that offseason was baloney. And so Mecole Hardman got to be on the team, so did Tyreek Hill, and we just had a couple fast receivers on the roster. I have a feeling with the Rashee Rice news and the idea that the Chiefs perceive Rashee Rice as a potential WR1 or a high-end WR2, that they feel like they need to make a move now to get another young receiver on the roster with the unknown at hand of Rashee Rice with his current legal situation. So, in my opinion, I think that it makes sense for the Chiefs to go receiver again. Tanner, you might have different thoughts. We've talked about this a little bit off the air here, but I'm curious just kind of where your standpoint is on the Chiefs draft going forward, where you want them to go, and who's a prospect that you're interested in.
I think because I think the guy I want at receiver won't go in the first round. So, and I think you can get him in the second round, maybe even you might trade up a little bit, but I think you can get the guy that I want in the second round for receiver. But my suspicions, and I just feel this way, they're either going defense or offensive tackle. We haven't signed a left tackle yet. Donovan Smith's still out there, free agent. I don't see us making any headway or rumors on it at all for the left tackle spot, let alone the right tackle, because we know Jawan Taylor can play both spots. So I think here you're going tackle at 32. And you're looking at guys. I'm not looking at Mims, by the way. I know Mims is supposed to be this
He's a
big
project.
standout, but it's just something about his game where I'm like, yeah, you playing a really good Georgia team. Something about it here. I think you go almost back to Oklahoma in a way. You go after Tyler Guyton, a 6'8", big 322 guy. He's really big in the pass protection scheme. And I realize left tackle, that's kind of where you want that kind of coverage. That seems to be our big struggle a lot of times. And, Donovan Smith, when he got hurt, that was our issue. Left tackle kept getting let loose there. Wanya Morris wasn't cutting it. Another guy that I've seen as well mocked around is Jordan Morgan, offensive tackle from Arizona. He's 6'5", 311. He is, he's been projected to go late round 1, early round 2.
Yeah.
So it's another guy that has shown that he can pass protect as well. Big pass protector, but he has a little bit more balance on the run game for himself as well. So those are the two guys I'm looking at for our pick. I wouldn't be surprised if Kool-Aid McKinstry is there, if they go after Kool-Aid, and if they chop Robinson as well from Penn State legend soon to be. He could be a guy as well on the defensive end side. So I don't see a receiver. Xavier Leggett's my guy in the second round, and I would love to have him.
I could, Tanner, real quick on the corner front. I feel like that would be one of those crazy moves if the Chiefs went cornerback in the first round because, the idea is that the Chiefs have a lot of depth at corner and that, letting go of Snead was part of that.
Correct.
But knowing this team the way I know them, I could also see them making that move at corner and just saying, you know what, reload. Just reload again.
Exactly. That's why I wouldn't be surprised.
We're going to have McDuffie, obviously, and some of the other guys that are on this roster that are really talented.
I don't see Kool-Aid making it to our pick. Like, we'd have to go up a little bit.
But
you never know. There's always the chance. And let's just say, because he's going to somewhere in the mid-20s to late 30s or late 20s. So, like, if he's there at 32, I could see them say, well, thank you.
That would be like an exciting shock in a way. It'd be like you're excited because you're probably going to be getting a high-value athletic cornerback. At the same time, you're going to be a little shocked because we know the depth that we have at this position. But now we're going to feel like we're still in good hands defensively if they were to take a cornerback early like that. And then, after that probably would go for your receiver in the second round or something like that. I personally still think Donovan Smith comes back as a Chief this offseason for basically dirt cheap. I don't think that this organization wants to have the highest paid player in the NFL or the most valuable player in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, having a rookie left tackle blocking for him on the side there. I don't think that's something
just because it's left tackle?
It's not just because I don't think.
Because you got Creed, you had Creed and Trey right away.
I think we learned from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl that you want to have veteran depth there at your offensive line positions, especially with you have a quarterback as talented as Mahomes.
At your tackles, right?
And, well, sure, both left and right.
Because you got to remember, Creed and Trey came in just fine as rookies.
Yeah,
right.
Which both of those guys were, in my opinion, so pro-ready that neither one of them played that rookies that first year. But yeah, the tackle position obviously is super important towards the way Mahomes plays the game. As far as the ability to get outside and stuff like that. And I don't think I could see a rookie left tackle blocking for Mahomes this year. It wouldn't make sense. And then if something was to go wrong and that left tackle sucks and allows an injury to Mahomes, think about the kind of backlash you get if you're Brett Veach for why are you allowing the idea that there's a left tackle rookie in here to block for your most valuable possession of Mahomes. I personally think you're going to add weapons offensively to this team. With the scarcity of Rashee Rice, the possibility that Rashee Rice could be out. There's a couple guys on my list, but one of the guys is actually projected to go possibly to Buffalo there for Mr. Starsky. Xavier Worthy is one of the guys on my list. I think that we could see Andy Reid potentially see this guy as the next Jackson clone.
I was like, damn.
Well, what he does in his spare time is his own choice, so I'm not gonna hate on him for that. So, we talk about Deshaun Watson being one of our heroes, but maybe Worthy can finally take over that crown for us. So we're gonna go Xavier Worthy as one of the top picks, fastest 40 of all time. He is obviously undersized as far as the body type and a little bit skinny, but I think that there's value there. There's value in the ability of what Mahomes can do to push the ball downfield. Something we haven't seen for the last couple of years. as well as the fact that I think that Andy could see him as the replacement and a better route runner than McCole Hardman has been for this roster as well. So I think there's going to be value there at that. But there's other guys, man. If Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU ends up falling down the list, you have to take it.
You got to do that.
The guy had 68 catches and 17 touchdowns this previous year. That's absolutely insane. I mean, that's absolutely insane. I think Brian Thomas is going to be amazing. If the Chiefs were to go that route, they probably got to trade up a few spots to get to him. Otherwise, I like Keon Coleman as well from Florida State.
I do too.
That's a guy who could be later in the second round, but I think it's going to be a really good value.
He, a 6'3" guy receiver. I was watching his highlights, and he's been playing a lot of the screens, the slot kind of style. Yeah. But he's a big body.
Right.
Put him on the outside, teach him how to play the outside correctly, and I think you got yourself a really great weapon. I agree with you there in Keon Coleman.
Then my one underdog I'll give you guys that I could see happening with this roster is Brett Veach, for some reason, just loving Ladd McConkey. I think that there's a chance of that. I think he had a great combine. I think his overall athleticism is pretty terrific, honestly. And we saw him enough at Georgia, man. I mean, we've been watching Georgia on primetime CBS and every other damn channel for the last 3 years. Ladd McConkey's been a reliable target for that offense for a while now. He missed some time with injury, obviously. But I could see Veach, for some reason, to seeing him as kind of your safe, reliable target that Mahomes can trust. And maybe a guy who's not going to go run around and drive his car 140 miles an hour. I don't know.
There's that too. I think Ladd McConkey and Roman Wilson kind of ran the same style routes. Yeah. Where you start on one side, you just run through the middle like slants, basically. Yeah. And I just think they're
McConkey's not a slant runner in this league anyway. Maybe at Georgia
I don't know. I'd like to avoid that.
Yeah, I think so too. Not to say Ladd won't have maybe a good career, but I think there's better options for sure. So those are my guys that are on the top of my list. And yes, all of them were wide receivers. So that is the route I'm going. I've been thinking that for the last 3 months. So what do you got, Jason?
I would have gone the same way. I was going wide receiver regardless of what happened to Rashee Rice. I think that's the position that we need to focus on. You've got an aging Travis Kelce. This is a passing league. You can never have enough options at the wide receiver position. So even if Rashee Rice wouldn't have gotten into trouble, I still would have gone towards wide receiver. At least get one in the first or second round. The guy that I'm looking at is Adonai Mitchell out of Texas, 6'2", 205 pounds, runs a 4.34 40, and if he falls that far to our pick, then I think that's the guy I'm looking at.
If you guys watched any Texas football, he was the red zone threat. I mean, Worthy was the guy, the deep threat to stretch the field. Mitchell was the guy when he got inside the 10-yard line, you're throwing a lob up to him and he's going to make a play.
I like Mitchell a lot.
I like Mitchell. I think there's a little bit of I don't want to say character concern, but I think he's one of those wide receivers who is one of those get me the ball type of attitudes. And, maybe more, like Stephon Diggs is that way. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. And it's not always going to be a bad thing. It's more of just.
Like, have we even had that, really? Like, Tyreek, I know, threw a little fit. Travis throws a little fit.
That'd be my only potential complaint in his personality on the field, is that if he's not getting targeted throughout a game, he will let his emotions show and frustration show. And I don't know that that's something that's going to sit well with Andy or not when it comes to draft day and that type of mentality. I'm not saying it's a bad mentality. I'm just saying, like, I think that it's something that we haven't seen the Chiefs allow from their wide receivers. Only guys been able to allow that type of emotion, not a give me the ball emotion, but the emotion like that is Travis Kelce. Because at the end of the day, Kelsey's going to get the ball one way or the other when it matters. So
I think it matters when you're winning too. It may not be an issue if he comes in here and they're winning Super Bowls, because with Stephon Diggs, he never won anything. Yeah. And that was his excuse for blowing up, is because, we're not winning and I'm not getting the ball too. You bring in a guy like a Stephon Diggs into a winning culture and you're winning rings, those guys are not likely to complain quite as much.
Yeah, very good point. So,
is there anybody you would avoid?
Guys that I would avoid.
So for me, a couple guys I do not want on this team. Troy Franklin with Oregon receiver. He's great. Like, he can get you downfield, straight line. I was
going to say he can stretch the field himself vertically.
Outside of that, his route running, his hands, I didn't see what I wanted to see there. And then Roman Wilson with Michigan. I'm just not as impressed. I mean, granted, he didn't have that great of a quarterback throwing to him. That's right, I said it. You J.J. McCarthy lovers. I think Roman Wilson would he'd just be too close to what Sky Moore is and be just as much as a concern going into the year. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know that I have one that I would just straight up avoid this year. I mean, normally I do. I normally got the guys, and it's funny you bring up Franklin as being a straight line speed guy, basically deep threat, because that was kind of my knock on a lot of prospects back in the day that couldn't run a full route tree, like your Darius Hayward Bay of the world, stuff like that. I would call those guys out for that, and sure enough, get to the league and they can't freaking play the game. But no, honestly, this year, for me, it's more positional based than it is player specific this year for me. And I do obviously want to draft another tackle in this draft. I want to draft another guy that could be the left tackle, somebody that could compete with Wanya Morris for the right or the left, without a doubt, because we need that depth no matter what anyway. And probably want to draft a backup center as well. I mean, this is going to be a thing where we got to have everything in lockdown and plans put in place. And someone, maybe later in the draft, in the 5th round is what I'm talking about, for the backup guard or center, someone that can do both positions, for the potential of the leaving of anybody on our interior right now on the offensive line. So just some things to consider, I would say. But with that said, I mean, I don't know that we're going to have edge rushers available. They're going to be worthy of the pick we're taking right now. I think there's just a lot of depth at wide receiver and a lot of depth at corner. I would say we probably should not go safety in the 1st round. I think we can hold off on that for a couple more rounds if we're really feeling the need to go that way. But
I mean,
that'd be my thoughts.
Linebacker, you got to replace Willie Gay.
Sure, I mean you got to replace Willie Gay, but you still have Leo Chenal.
I mean, yeah, you got Chenal, you got Tranquil coming back as well, Bolton, but you still, I mean, Willie Gay was still a little bit different player than those guys.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not sure. I am kind of surprised that someone hasn't been brought in yet to compete with that position as far as that outside linebacker spot goes. But we'll see. I think there's still some things that can unfold here, getting closer as the year rolls on and we get closer to training camp. Some more things could go.
Guy to watch for in that linebacker spot is going to be Darius Masua. 6-foot guy, but he's more of what Willie Gay was. More like he can go after the play, but he was more of reading the quarterback, playing that shade as well kind of deal. So I kind of would watch for him later on. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it all unfold, man. We're not going to be standing in the middle of a field this time.
We are
for
not.
the whole show. If you guys remember last year when we talked about our draft experience in Kansas City, I'm so glad we got to do it. But at the same time, I really feel like as a fan in attendance, you miss out on a lot. You miss out on all the aspects.
The trades.
The trades aren't really shown.
The highlights.
You see them on a board from far away, but you don't get to see the highlights. You don't get to see when a player's picked, they announce the name and they move on. And the player's name stays on a big screen for like 7 minutes and then it goes away. And we, every time a player is picked, it's like, you like to see the player picked, show their highlights because that's what we've been doing our entire lives on ESPN or whatever. And then like to maybe hear some commentary, even if it's doofuses like, your favorite guy, Mr.
McShay.
McShay, and then you got some other ones out there that are your favorites. But I used to enjoy Mike Mayock back in the day whenever you were on NFL Network for draft analysis. But so we might go again though, from what I'm hearing, Tanner. So
possibly
there's
in the air.
Chance of that.
We'll see.
So we'll see how that goes down. Do we have any comments? I cannot read from here.
Let's see here. Starsky says it's about time. I had withdrawals without the buffoons. I talking about last week being out.
Yeah.
Dave says, I gotta make sure I read this right.
We all blind now?
Diabetes response can cause the behavioral issues. Okay, that's what he said. Yeah, ask color.
Yeah.
Diabetes. Yep, it can.
Yeah, that is true.
I think Mitchell does. Yeah, I think Mitchell does have that. So.
Maybe Mr. Cutler. I don't know. I think Cutler has other issues, but
we'll
save that for a different time, I suppose. But
he does have other issues. Yes.
Who was it? Did you guys know Noah Gray has diabetes?
No.
Yeah, Noah Gray
fooled me.
Shooting up the insulin. So Yeah, Noah Gray is our one and only chief that I'm aware of with diabetes. So
I've always wondered if any of those guys have HIV and they just keep it on the down low or something like that, because it doesn't have any symptoms.
yeah, I don't know. It is possible. Tanner, remember that one time at the strip club? Never mind. No,
Jesus.
There was a stripper one time that told me that she gave a lap dance to Blake Bell and that he was a shitty tipper. So I tipped her even less than what he tipped her. So I wonder what that makes me.
What was that disease that Michael Vick had back in the day? Was that the clap, or was that? I know it was like a venereal disease or something.
Yeah. I know. I forgot all about that when he was like Ron Mexico.
Yeah.
Ron Mexico. He had the clap or something. Yeah, that was a fun one, man. That was a good time period. That was like the same time period where we saw T.O. doing sit-ups in his driveway and everything, man. That was like a fun time. That was like a fun time to be an NFL fan. There was all kinds of chaos going.
That was good.
So, yeah, I like that, man. It's more fun than people running around crashing their cars, So I'll put it that way.
Yeah, at least they're not OJ. That's all I know.
Not OJ. They're not dogfighting, I guess. So give them that. All right, guys. Today is National Cheese Ball Day, but that's all I got to say. That's it.
So
that's today's day of the day, guys. Today's National
Yeah.
Cheese Ball Day. How does that make us feel?
It's pretty sad, man, that you have to have it. You have to come up with a
day
day
for cheese balls.
Can't believe you have a cheese ball.
for cheese ball. It seems like kind of a waste of time.
It's also, there's another food is National Banana Day. National Banana and National Cheese Ball Day at the same time. I wonder
cheese balls.
I wonder if you could celebrate one or the other and you took it seriously, which one would you celebrate the most?
Oh, I can't stand bananas. They're disgusting.
You'd have cheese balls.
Yeah, they're gross, dude.
Yeah.
All right,
But-
I want to ask you guys something. So, because I'm curious to see if you guys ever experienced anything like this or anything new. So, we all know the world of technology is coming into play, right, for health and all that stuff. So I went to the eye doctor on Monday. Okay, get my checkup, get some new glasses. I got them coming in and all that, and they were. I've been having some neck pain and stuff. I stare at a computer for over 8 hours a day, majority of the time, right? You probably rank it into the 12 hours a day I stare at a computer total. So
That's a lot.
so I was doing, I went in and they're like, well, we got this test we want you to do. It's a neurology test, and it tracks your eyes. So they put a VR headset on my face, right? And I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's an avatar in there, and you do all these tests with your eyes, like your head and your eyes and all that, and you stare at a dot and you go through like series of stuff, and then it diagnoses you. And so I had a missed eye alignment, which is basically like I can see a target, but after a while I see behind it, so I can't focus the right way. So that I got new subscription coming for that. But have you guys ever encountered something where you normally go, let's say the dentist, the doctor, whatever, and you're like, this is new. What the hell? When the hell did this start this? I've never seen that VR headset in my life.
Oh.
And that was actually
like
really
new,
phenomenal.
like new technology is your
Yeah,
point,
new
but you're-
technology.
it's like-
Yeah, just
Okay.
something that you were like very shocked to hear about or even see in person.
No, but those like DEXA scans are like always like blowing my mind. Like if you don't talk about I think it's called a DEXA scan, but it's ones where basically it can read your entire body and tell you your body fat percentage on every part of your body.
Is that what like S2 or whatever some of the
Probably.
nutrition places have?
Yeah, so probably
Okay,
something like
gotcha.
that. But those kinds of things blow my mind because it's like how can they know like what percentage of each part of your body, like between your arms and your legs and your every
That's wild.
every inch of you basically what percentage you hold most of your fat in compared to others. Those things have always blown my mind that we're able to do that. My new company I work for offers that just for free. If you go just walk into the
Really?
building, tell our we have a well-being and dream manager is her title, which sounds like an amazing job. I mean, she literally is there to inspire people as her full-time job. And one of her things that she does with that, she will take this device and go around from place to place, and then anyone who's working in the branches there can come up and use it, and it'll tell them more information about their body and where they're holding their fat, and just kind of give them nutrition advice, stuff like that. That's what she does full time for the company, which I think is a badass job. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool stuff.
That's pretty cool.
That's my only thing input, I guess.
You got anything?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that happened to you at the eye doctor, I mean, we go 7 to 10 years down the road, you won't even have an optometrist. It'll
I
it'll be
know.
a robot
Yeah.
that's giving you the eye test. And so that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, AI, people don't even realize AI.
It's nuts.
With AI, we're going to be living in a brave new world here in about 7 or 8, maybe 10 years. The newest thing that I noticed, I've seen it a couple of times. I'm sure a lot of people in our listening audience have seen it, is the waitresses, the robot waiter / waitress that brings you your food, and it's basically just comes up to you on wheels. It's got your food sitting on a tray, and the waitress doesn't even bring you your food. It's just a robot that brings it to you at your table at the restaurants.
So do you tip the robot whenever they're done?
Well, you know my feelings on tips, so
Yeah.
probably not going to happen from my perspective, but yeah.
It's kind of like the self-checkout kiosk. You know, they want you to tip the self-checkout kiosk.
Oh, is
So-
that a thing?
Oh, it's very much a thing.
Really?
So you go to the self-kiosk, and they want you to give a tip to the self-kiosks.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
They probably have feelings too. You should probably
Yeah.
give them a little bit. Of
Robots,
something.
if they don't have feelings yet, they will one day.
They will.
They will.
They
one day. So it'll happen. It's
You
a
don't
matter
want
of
to
time.
offend them
Oh,
by not tipping.
do you think that
them.
they're easily offended, robots?
They could be?
Probably depends on who they're created by. You know,
I just hope that they're not wielding weapons to where if you don't leave a tip, then they're going to make you
well, they
know
made a
about it.
movie about that called iRobot, dude, and they all went apeshit and started coming after people. Will Smith was in there. Oh boy! All right, guys. Tanner, how you doing?
I think I'm okay. I don't
All
know.
right,
I don't-
I'm trying to figure out what you're doing. Let's jump in, man, for a few minutes to about the NBA.
I'm trying to figure it out.
All right. We got NBA playoffs coming up. Actually, some are on right now for the play-in, and then this weekend, Saturday, it starts off with some other games going on. But Jason, I think you have a question for the group here.
It's a long season, boys, and it's really like it's always the tale of two seasons because the NBA season lasts forever. It really does, and that's why they had to break it into two. So regular season done. Now we are starting a brand new season, which lasts all the way into the middle of June. So we got a long way to go. I just want to know you guys' opinion on if you could pick one player, and don't give me some rando player at the end of the bench. Give me a stud or superstar player that has the most to prove in the NBA playoffs in 2024.
You got Tanner.
I can't say injured people, right?
If they're going to play, I mean, you can.
I mean,
if-
Giannis will play. Kawhi Leonard's, I'm sure he'll get out there.
Well, what is
he's not,
Giannis?
Kawhi's not injured.
What is Giannis?
His knee inflammation started up already.
You're kidding.
No, he was getting treatment on it the other day.
Oh, okay. Well, that was going to be my answer.
What
Never
does
mind.
what does Giannis have to
Thought
prove?
he had
though?
a ton to prove, but not now.
Giannis has tons to prove because you cut
I
a
mean,
coach
he's-
at the beginning of the season, brought in Doc Rivers for God's sakes, and now look at you sitting at a 3 seed going against a hot
Dude.
Pacers team.
He's a multiple-time MVP. I mean,
Wait,
he won
wait,
a
no, no, no,
finals.
no, no,
Didn't-
no.
Did he not win a finals championship already?
Yeah, one.
Yes, he won one. Have you seen the
But
talent
you don't
that's come
just
out? Like,
lose a coach and complain and lose a coach because he tried to make you guys
Look,
accountable.
you got to face Jokic, man. Jokic is a better version of Giannis.
Yeah,
I'm not
Joker-
gonna lie.
No, Joker is the better version. by far.
I don't blame Giannis for any of that just because I don't know what it is with Dame, but he had a subpar season this year. I think it's probably just him trying to fit in with that group. You know, you when you get traded, it's your first year on a team. It's a lot of times the team chemistry takes a while to get there, but Dame did not look like Dame Dalla this year. He looked like a little bit lesser version of himself. So I don't blame any of their woes on the Bucks on Giannis. Obviously, he's
Well,
injured now, so
yeah.
you can't really blame anyone because they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, I think the Pacers routed him. I think my biggest thing is with Philly winning today, ended up winning by 1 point at the end there. That puts them against New York. So my big thing here now is, I hate to say it, but Jason Tatum, the Celtics, can they make a splash right away, and can they really set their footprint for the playoffs? They've been the 1 seed. They've looked good all year long, but can they make that splash? Can they make that statement of basically sweeping out a team in the first round and continuing on some dominance? Because we've all seen them, like they're good all year long, but they struggle when it comes to playoffs. and they struggle even deeper when you get into the conference semifinals, conference finals. So, quite frankly, to me, Jason Tatum has all the pressure in the world right now, outside of maybe Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. So
yeah, Tatum has everything to prove because he's been there so many times, and they never get it done.
Never.
They always look like these amazing players between him and Brown, and even that. Honestly, that's just a great roster. But Tatum is a guy that, he's been in the league 7 years now, and we all know that. You look at guys like Jordan and LeBron. Well, they never got their first championship until year 8 or year 9. But Tatum's in year 7 right now, so I agree with you on him. He's got everything to prove right now because nobody outside of the Sixers should challenge them in the East. So they should be in the finals, but I mean this is the year that they've got to get over the hump.
They do.
Yeah, for me it's going to be Luka, and I say Luka because I think it's a guy to me who obviously he's a big offensive outputter, averaged 34 points a game this year. And he's made it to the playoffs right every year of his career, right, at this point.
I believe so, yeah.
And somehow he gets there.
They didn't make it last year.
Did they miss?
I think they missed last year because they traded for Kyrie, and then it all went downhill.
Kyrie is the bad luck charm, I guess. All right, well.
They made it this year with Kyrie, so
Well, we've seen teams with Luka obviously challenge the top competitors in the playoffs on a year-to-year basis. I mean, I know I'm talking about the Suns from a couple years ago. They obviously beat the Suns, took them out at the time.
Luka outdid the entire starting lineup at each position.
He didn't do what?
He outdid the starting lineup for the Suns at each position.
No, I know he did. I know all about that. But to me, I mean, guy's 25 years old, puts up 60 burgers, stuff like that. That's great. But to me, it's you're coming to a point in your career where there's a lot of other competitors around you that are just playing at a higher level from a defense and offensive standpoint that I don't think he can really compete with on a year-to-year basis. I think he's going to get shut down, and he's 25 years old right now. But you got a lot of guys that same age, in that same age group. I don't know that Luka is going to be a guy that can ever get it over that hurdle, get over that hump, and finally win one with the way he's playing this style of ball anyway. To me, he's playing like a guy that just wants to put up numbers, but doesn't actually care about the end result.
Oh, I question that.
I think I'm starting to have a problem with the way he's playing the game more recently, just because it's a little bit selfish in a lot of ways. And I think that he's gotten to a point now.
Who else is scoring on that team? Can you help me? Can you help me? Who else is supposed to carry that team to a 5 seed? For God's sakes!
Look, right now it is what it is with
Wish-wash Kyrie.
You got injuries there. Yeah, wish-wash.
I could
Kyrie.
put a Kyrie into this conversation. He never won anything without LeBron James.
Yeah, he still hasn't.
So those two guys together could be the answer to this question. Like, they both have a lot to prove. The only difference is that Kyrie is kind of at the end of his rope here. So Luka's got a lot more time to get it done.
Yeah.
But my other thing would probably be Devin Booker. Would be a guy who has a lot to prove during this playoff run. And I know they're coming in as a 6th seed, which is not a great way to start off. But Devin Booker, I mean, he's, I think, 27, 28 years old. And he's a guy that this team that he's on currently is getting up there. And, he's had Chris Paul, and Chris Paul was terrible in the playoffs in the past. He's got KD the last couple of years, and KD is dwindling away as we speak. Once that KD run is over, the Suns are going to fall back down to just average at best. And you got Devin Booker and a bunch of bums like they did the first few years of him there. And it's starting to get to a point now with me that I'm starting to ask myself, like, will he ever win a ring as a Sun? And I don't know if that's going to be the case. And so if he never wins a ring as a Sun, where's he going to go? And who's he? What kind of a as we called him, trio or
Big three
is he going to have to go to? Big four even probably to get that ring, because I think it's shown itself long enough now to where he hasn't been able to get the job done with the rosters he's been given so far.
What else support do you need? You have Bradley Beal, who's been a superstar all this.
I'm saying this roster's old,
Kevin
man.
Durant,
this roster's
who's
old.
been a superstar supposedly all the time.
I've been watching. Kevin Durant has been a turnover machine.
Well, like they can't buy any more into Booker with doing that right there.
And I'm not
buy any more in.
I'm not saying it's Booker's fault. I'm just saying if he's not going to get it done in this playoff run, next year he's going to be 29. Like, what's the end result of his career? What's it going to look like? Is he ever going to get one? Because right now the Suns are about to dwindle away into nothingness, and he's got a lot to prove because he's been there in the playoffs on a year-to-year basis. Never can get to the end and win.
Just hope he's
fail every
making
time.
the playoffs this couple of years. So
I think he's gonna have to join a different team.
Yeah.
I don't think Booker can win as a Sun.
Well, I think Luke has to do the same thing.
I think Booker is kind of in the same situation with Tatum, whereas, people expect these guys to come in and win championships in their first 3 or 4 years. And it's like I said with Jordan earlier, year 9 was when he got his first one. And so it takes a little bit of experience. But definitely Devin Booker is going down that same road with Jason Tatum and being a guy like people ask, when are you going to get this shit done, dude? My answer to this question is actually Kevin Durant, because he is at the tail end of his rope here. And not only does he have Brad Beal, but KD's still averaging like 27 a game.
Yes.
And he has, when you have another guy on your team who is also averaging 27 a game, like, you don't have any excuses. You're at the end of your road. I mean, if you don't get it done this year, then the naysayers are always going to say, well, you never did shit without Steph Curry. Yeah, we know you were finals MVP 2 times and you got 2 championships, but you never did anything without Curry. This is his chance to actually lead a team to a championship. I don't think it's going to happen, but he's going to have a big monkey on his back if he doesn't figure out a way to get it done, because his career is almost over.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. His career is about over. I mean, he's got his ups and downs and what's going on, and it reminds me a lot of crypto, where the lows are low and the highs are high, and so that's at this point KD's career is like cryptocurrencies. So
yeah, I can see a path for Booker to actually stay there, because when KD retires, I mean, if they don't get it done this year, that Frank Vogel's going to be fired. And Brad Beal is no spring chicken either. I could see them just rebuilding the whole thing.
I know,
while keeping Booker there.
I will say I've not been a huge fan of what job Vogel's done so far. Just the fact that they had this much talent this year on the roster, and this was somehow their worst year of the last 5, just is blowing my mind. I don't understand that at all. So
yeah, Frank Vogel is a defensive coach, and honestly,
we don't play defense.
That roster is so top heavy that you can't play very good. You don't have the horses to play good defense anyway. So I think they needed an offensive-minded coach in there to do that job. And I mean, this thing's probably going to go down in flames.
It's going to be rough.
Probably so. Right, man. Well, what are you guys' plans for the draft, by the way? Anything you got in mind yet?
Get drunk.
Get drunk for the draft.
I might be going live with Mikey from Basement Brew Fans Football, so
okay.
Could be questionable. I don't know fully yet. It's also anniversary weekend, so got all that planned as well. So
maybe I'll have some Detroit style pizza, since the draft is in Detroit.
I think one of these years we need to, when the Chiefs pick in the top 20 again, we need to go back to Brubaker's and do a live draft show again, just to just to have that. Hey, when we did that, we drafted Trent McDuffie.
We did.
We were there for.
He wasn't happy about that, right?
I was not. And George Karlaftis.
And George Karlaftis, you weren't happy about.
I was pissed about both of those picks, actually.
Yeah, he was more pissed about Karlaftis. But.
Well, I was pissed about Karlaftis because my theory at the time was that we needed a guy that was going to be a pro ready, and Karlaftis was developmental, and I didn't like that because I felt like we couldn't win the Super Bowl without a pro ready D end, and we won anyway. And then Trent McDuffie, I just thought he was going to be a nickel, and that was going to be it. And he's turned out to be a lot better than I thought. So.
Yeah, I remember with Karlaftis, you thought that he not only was he just developmental, but you thought that he had a good motor. But you would make fun of him because he had a good motor, but other than that, he's just a worthless piece of shit.
Yeah, he was a tryhard. Which, I mean, at the end of the day, I wasn't wrong about Karlaftis. His first 8 games of his career, he didn't do anything.
It was pretty bad.
He didn't do anything. Bad. And so, in my mind, I was telling myself we needed to have an edge rusher now that could come in right away and make an impact. And it didn't really matter because Steve Spagnuolo was like, well, I'll just dial up this and that and blah blah blah. We don't need a defensive end, I guess.
All right.
And then boom, Karlaftis ended up being okay actually in the end as the year went on. And then last year ended up having double-digit sacks.
What was the last pick you were actually happy about in the first 2 rounds?
What was the one before that?
Because the other one was Sky Moore.
Oh, that was a second rounder, and I was pissed. I was pissed about Sky Moore.
I feel like you've been mad about almost every. I mean, I think you liked last year's Felix.
Yeah,
I think you were okay with that.
I
wanted
liked
Joey
Leo.
Porter Jr. instead of Felix.
I liked Leo Chenal. I wanted Joey Porter Jr. What was it last year?
Yeah.
No, I've been happy with quite a few picks over the years, but of course, I can't remember right off the top of my head though what years each one would have been or anything. I really liked the Creed Humphrey pick at the time. I thought he was going to be pro ready.
All right, so Clyde was 2020.
I thought Clyde was going to be a good receiving back.
Yeah, you even bought that shirt, dude. Clyde,
Well, that's because it was funny.
Edwards Bel Air.
Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Yeah.
We didn't have a pick in 21. That was traded to Baltimore. We had Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, and then Felix.
I liked Felix.
No pick in 18 or 19 in the first round.
Yeah, Felix
Patrick
pick
Mahomes.
I was cool with.
So really, outside of Mahomes and Clyde, I guess and Felix, you hated the 2022 draft.
Yeah,
the first round.
Which, funny enough, those two panned out pretty well. So
I know you love the Eric Berry pick in 2010.
well, yeah. But no, Felix. I'm not giving up on Felix. I don't care if he
No.
barely played. I mean, that's not the way we do things here. These guys need a year to develop sometimes. So I have full faith in Felix. Plus, the guy had a great play in the Super Bowl. If you guys remember, he stood out. There was one big play, tackle for loss in the Super Bowl. Felix was a part of. So
Yeah.
I got faith in Felix to get it ramped up this coming year.
Awesome.
All right, you guys. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I think I'm heading to St. Louis this weekend. Anything
Are
cool?
you shitting me? St. Louis again?
Again.
Oh, I thought
I'm
you
going to
were just
WinStar again. It's like I go there almost every
Man.
month.
I've never been to St. Louis.
Man.
By the way, I mentioned Detroit style pizza the other day. Don't ever try St. Louis.
Oh, I
style
love St.
pizza. It's
Emos,
awful.
dude.
What? No, you don't like that shit.
I like emos.
Oh my god.
Have you guys ever had the Detroit style? I tried
Yeah.
it for the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
time. I
Detroit's
probably
good.
told you about it. I had it at Minsky's a few weeks ago.
No, it's pretty good.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
They still have it, by the way.
They do.
So if you want to try it, go to Minsky's.
Detroit
I
style
prefer
pizza's
more
good.
of like a thin crust type, like New York style or whatever. I like that, but no, Detroit style is pretty
You
good.
don't
It
like
was phenomenal.
the emo style?
Nah, Tanner.
It's disgusting.
No. St. Louis doesn't do anything right. You know, last time I was in St. Louis, they tried to tell me that Casey didn't know how to do barbecue. I'm like, shut up, you dumb asses.
Hopefully I don't talk to too many people there. So.
Yeah, don't even talk to them. Don't talk to them about food or sports.
I do know one thing that they do well. That's with the crime rate. They do that
Ooh,
very well.
They do that.
I'll be on the west side, so it's all right.
No, you should go to Ferguson, Tanner. Go to Ferguson and see how it is.
West side in the stadium. That's it.
Well, if you start wandering around downtown, let me know what you find. So let me know. Report back if it's better or worse than Oklahoma City. I'm just curious how that goes down.
Well, I've only been to a few spots in Oklahoma City, so
Well, I'm just saying we can compare notes.
from what you told
we
me,
can compare
yeah.
notes from what we experienced over the past month. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Should be fun.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, you guys. Well, with all that said, then we'll be back here, and yes, it's going to be a couple of weeks. We'll be back after the draft for the next show, which I'm sure is going to allow us for lots of time to kind of discuss what's going on in the NBA playoffs, as well as the recap of the Chiefs draft and some other teams. So,
Yep.
that is the master plan going forward, at least for now. At least for now, you guys. And then we'll see how the Royals are looking too. Maybe we can chime in about whether they're still playing okay or if it's all over by then.
I just keep playing okay till after May 8th. So
There you go, Tanner. We're rooting for points. I mean, runs. You know,
runs.
baseball things. All right, guys. Well, with that said, I'll see you on the next one.
Outro.
See you guys.